Hey, what's going on? I wanted to put together a video for viewers to help you think creatively about what you could do in your situation given utility shutdown, whether that be electricity or natural gas. Even last year in America, we had massive power outages in Texas during the winter, and people generally were not ready. And I want to help you be ready. The same occurred recently in Louisiana, and of course, it's happened many other places. We are in very strange times, and I don't need to get into all that, but what would you do? What would you do if the only way you could get light would be from a door that you have or a window? Now, I'm in a double car garage, and I'll give you the tour here in a second, but you're going to need some kind of light, right? Some kind of way to see what you're doing, especially at night when the lights go out. In the northern hemisphere, you're not going to have long hours of light during the day. Now you can see here, one thing to do is this is just a little headlamp. It runs on LEDs, AAA batteries, about $5 on Amazon, something like that. Think what happens in your house where you live. If the electricity goes out, do you have a fireplace? Do you have any wood in the back? Do you have any place to go? Do you have any plan at all about how you're going to see? Maybe you have some flashlights. Maybe you have some candles. But what else would you really need if you were going to be in one of these types of scenarios? Different things, starting from just the simple basics. How about a first aid kit? Are you diabetic? Do you have any meds that are very critical for, cholesterol or anything like that? Do you have severe allergies, albuterol inhalers, anything like that? So this is just a good thing to have. Aspirin, the basics, right? What else? We talked about light, but one thing that's really easy to pick up and keep on hand is they're purifying tablets. They're basically iodine, and this is very lightweight. It's fairly cheap, maybe $10, $15, something that you can pick up on Amazon and be able to have just on hand, because maybe you can get water, but maybe from your house, but maybe you can't, or maybe you're concerned about the cleanliness of it. Where are you going to go to get water? This is one of the big things. What else? How could you charge if you want to use a phone or something? How could you get electricity? Maybe you already have something like this. This is just a small inverter. Again, it plugs into a car outlet. So if you have gas in your car, then you can go out to your driveway or the parking lot or whatever and actually generate electricity, right? You can charge, this comes with 2 USB ports and 110 volts outlet, right? So you realize that if you have gas on hand, you do have the ability to generate electricity and convert it without going out and spending hundreds of dollars of getting a generator. You could still, do something like that. So the options of what to do with a restroom is going to be very important. Why? Well, this is going to be important just for long-term living. If it's cold outside where you live, and already in certain places it is cold outside where you wouldn't want to be losing additional heat or going outside, or maybe, if there's some kind of civil unrest in your area, you'd like to not have to go outside and, do. What can you do? You have a commode upstairs, right, or downstairs at your apartment that you could, with some simple tools, maybe a wrench or some pliers, be able to remove that. I think you can go to most hardware stores, Lowe's or whatever, and get some trash bags. This is fairly simple. As well, you could have, since we haven't gotten to that water issue yet, but you could just get some hand sanitizer and be ready. You could keep it inside, you could just throw out the waste and be able to go. And so that's kind of not a pretty thing to think about, but it's very, very important. Okay, let's turn this off. One of the things that we've talked about is using iodine tablets in order to purify water, which you can do, but you're not going to be able to purify a lot of water. One thing that is nice about having some kind of cooking unit like this is an old school Coleman. It's a dual fuel. It's a camp stove. It has 2 burners, and they've been making these since like the 1970s. So you can pick these up. I bought this one used on Facebook for something like $45 plus $9 shipping. The nice thing about this is you can use white gas, which is like a purified Coleman type of. It's just basically gasoline without all the additives that they put in our gasoline at the pump at the gas station. But you can use unleaded gasoline on this, which if you have a supply of gasoline on hand, it's easier than getting white gas. And so this is one option. So about $45, $50 you can pick something up like this. They also, and I'll leave a clip, but Walmart sells a comparable product. You can buy it new. It's a Coleman propane gas stove, and it just uses these little green bottles. It looks like it's about $8 currently at Walmart for a 2-pack, and then you can buy the stove brand new at Walmart or online for about $45. One of the great things about having some way to, warm food is just for the psychological benefit of being able to eat warm meals. But not only that, boiling is one of the best ways that you can purify water. So if you run into water problems, this is going to be a big problem very, very quick, where it's going to push you into some type of emergency situation. So you can purify water using gas or some kind of stove in order to boil. You can also buy a stockpile. So we've talked about trying to stay, fed, hydrated, things like this. What about staying warm? Yes, if you have a generator and you want to have a ton of gasoline in store and you can run space heaters all day, sure, that's great. What about wood stoves? Maybe you have a wood stove in your apartment or your house. If not, you got to think about that part, especially if you're in a colder climate, because we are headed into the fall and the winter in the northern hemisphere. Now, so got a little creative. I think some of you who've watched the channel for a while know that I have a background in fish farming. So fish farming leads to a lot of heating and cooling of water. This is just a 55-gallon drum that we had laying around. We just plumbed it in with some 3/4 inch. It's steel. Basically the thing with wood stoves, right, is it's very hot for a short amount of time, right? It heats the air and then it dissipates very quickly. Water has a much larger capacity to store heat. Just think about pools in the summertime, how slowly they heat and cool. Same with like lakes and rivers and streams, all that from experience. So, you can get more creative for those of you who have kind of that capacity. We had something more like, it's just an old fuel barrel here. It's maybe 300 gallons. Just ran some water in there, piped it in. And, the idea is that after running the wood-burning stove for many days, eventually the heat would move through the piping and kind of you would be able to have more of a consistent type of heat store in your residence. So a double car garage, it's 20 by 24. It's about a little short of 500 square feet. Some of the other things you can look at is, buying portable propane tanks, 100-pound tanks, and you can get little, for maybe a couple hundred, maybe $150, $200, you can get like a propane space heater. And I'll throw up some pictures of that over this section of the video. Yeah, it's probably going to be $200 to get a 100-pound tank, and then probably another $100 to have it filled or delivered, and then you're going to have some of the connection linkages, the hoses or the pipes, the fittings. So that'll probably be another $40-50. It just depends how bad you think things are going to get and what your temperature concerns are. Things we didn't really cover. What about where you're going to sleep? Bedding, how you're going to stay up off the ground, things like that. Also water. Water is a big one. If you want to buy gallons, you can do that, right, and just keep them as kind of a backup. Otherwise, you have to think about what can you do. Are there any kind of like storage tanks that you can buy, maybe put in your garage or put on your patio? What if it gets cold? Is there any way to keep that warm? Are there any pumps that you need? Things of this nature. Is there a stream nearby? Is there some kind of maybe well on your property if you live in a rural setting? How are you going to be able to access those things without electricity? Are you going to need a generator to run any pumps? Can you do some kind of rope and bucket system? Yes, you can definitely do that. It takes a little bit more work and a little bit more exposure to the outdoors. Of course, if you're going to run some kind of like wood stove, it's going to take a lot of time in gathering like a lot of wood, chopping it, splitting it, whatever. You're going to need at least a truck. Maybe you can do it with a car. But a lot of these things take a lot of advanced planning and budgeting. One thing we also didn't talk about is food. Food can take a ton of time. I mean, putting this whole plan together could maybe be 20, 30, 40 hours from planning and budgeting and then shopping and then putting together a menu. If you're going to do multiple weeks, I would suggest doing the same menu. So plan out a menu for 1 week and then just buy multiples of that for weeks 2, 3, and 4. If you think you're going to be in that kind of scenario. There's certain problems, of course. One of them is light that I didn't cover, and the thing that you can do if you don't want to get there's a wasp. So it's not going to be a pleasant experience, but this is just the truth of it. So when the lights go out and you have nothing to do and all you maybe have is a charger that you can go and charge stuff in your car, this is a great type of thing that you can pick up. These are just lanterns. They are very, you can see very bright. And if you were to put them up high, they come with like hooks. And if you put them up high, it would definitely be enough where you could, maybe make some food, maybe, I don't know, do whatever you need to do. They're portable. They have magnets on the bottom so they can stick to certain things. And they come with a USB charger. So you can go out to your car, you can charge those up. And so having those rechargeable light sources will help you turn some of these off and save your batteries and be able to get through maybe the night or the day, just depending upon what your situation is. Of course, I mean, hopefully during the day you can charge things and use the windows, but at night, what are you going to do? Especially if the sun goes down at 6 and you're not going to go to bed till 10, you still have to cook dinner. What if people have to get up and go to the bathroom at night, right? There's a lot of things that you can really start to think about, and it's actually pretty amazing about the number of different things that we kind of take for granted, and that if you remove the electricity part or if you remove the central heat part, it gets really... Okay, so imagine you're thinking to yourself, I don't really want to run around with these lanterns. I'm going to be a generator person. All I need to do is, in order to get ready to do this, I need to run out and get a generator. Here's some of the reasons why I don't like generators. And of course, you got to think about it depending upon your situation. But number one, these are big ticket items. New, they can cost, $500, and you're going to need to get something around 3,000 to 3,500 watts, that normal running, like continuous running watts, if you want to use anything for heating. Anything that runs on heat, so like cook stoves, crock pots, space heaters, microwaves. These are all going to have a big pull, anywhere from like 1,500 watts up. So, you can't just get like a 1,000-watt generator. You're going to need something 2,000 watts or larger if you want to do any kind of heating or cooking with these things. That's going to put you into a higher price bracket. Also, think about it. If you live out in a rural setting, or if you own a house, maybe this is going to work well for you, although it could keep your neighbors up and cause some problems. But if you're the only person on the block, or if you're an apartment person and you're the only person in the complex that has a generator, and we have a huge blackout for multiple days like we had in Texas or before, everyone's going to know that you have a generator, and they're going to want to come over and stay warm, get bright, knock on your door, and then you kind of have a situation on your hands with what are you going to do? It could be something that someone wanted to try to steal from you in the middle of the night. Who knows what kind of problems that could have, right? The other thing is on this, if you run it at 50% load, 50% capacity of what electrical output that it has, it's going to use about half a gallon of gas an hour. That means, what are you going to do? You're going to run it all day during the day for heat and at night for heat. So you're going to run it 24 hours a day. That means that's 12 gallons of gas a day. That's 24, 36, 48. You could keep going, right? Where are you going to store, 48 gallons of gasoline on your property? I mean, that's a lot. 5-gallon tanks are about as heavy as most people can pick up. That's about 35 pounds. You want to go buy a bunch of those, you're going to buy 12 of them to get 60 gallons stored on your property. That's going to be in just in gas tanks, it's going to be something like $10 or $20 a tank times, what did I say, 12 of them? So anywhere from like $120 to $240 just in gas tanks. Then you got to buy the gas, then you got to buy the generators, and that only gets you through 5 days. That's not a great option for most people, so I don't like it, especially for apartment dwellers, for all the attention that it draws, and then it's just very difficult for most people to store that much gasoline on their property. You can get dual fuel ones that run on propane. Propane tanks for a 100-pound tank is 25 gallons. These are about $200 to buy the bottle and about $100 to get it filled. And you're going to need a truck. They're heavy. They're about 170 pounds once they're full. So as a final comment for Christians, a lot of people have said, oh, we are in the last days, and this is, the white horse of the apocalypse is already written from Revelation 6-7, whatever like that. I don't think that's where we are. I think there's enough prophecies that haven't been fulfilled about everyone getting a chance to hear the good news. There's a lot of other things we haven't seen as far as people running here, there, and everywhere. I'm not a pre-trib person. I'm a post-trib, but I think that many secular people are looking at the markets, looking at the blackouts in China, looking at Texas and the southern states when we had that cold time in 2020. Don't worry when you live through these things. God's got this. There is a great time of oppression that's going on, a lot of lies, a lot of fear, a lot of manipulation. God does not have it for his children to live in those ways. He's given us a spirit of power and a sound mind. So realize that God is going to shake things up, but ultimately it's going to be for a good purpose. He's not going to let all this nonsense continue on. He's going to come to the rescue. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Let me know what you're doing in your situation or what I missed.